And we are back. This is Testosterone Fantasy Sports, doing everything we can to bring the fat fantasy football insight, in-depth information about how you can win in your fantasy football matchup this weekend. 6 teams are on bye. It's going to be crazy. If you've got players from Atlanta, you're probably losing. If you have players from Dallas, you're probably winning. Both those teams are on bye, as well as Kansas City, Arizona, Seattle, and Baltimore. One quick sidebar, Zach. I know that you and I both have used Larry Johnson in the past to win. This season, he started off really slow, and then he kind of started to get things going again. Why don't you give me your take a little bit on what you think about Larry Johnson now and then going forward?
Well, it was kind of expected that he was going to start out slow. He had a really tough schedule playing us and the Chargers and the Bears and another tough team in there. And then his schedule kind of eased out a little bit here with Houston and
So they played Cincinnati. Yep.
As well. And I think they're starting to get him the ball. You know, he's going to get his 20, 25 carries every game. So he's just a tough physical runner. So even if he's playing those tougher defenses, he can get those little yards that he needs to. And as long as he gets the carries, I think he'll be all right. And he's always going to get the goal line carries as well. So
another
not only that, they got rid of Michael Bennett, so I don't even know who the backup is right now. Priest Holmes, but he's 30.
Kevin Cobb, no, that's Colby Smith.
Colby Smith, yeah.
So if you've got LJ, you might want to go after Colby Smith here. LJ, he looked good last week against Oakland. He scored well for your fantasy team. One thing that I heard is that he's got a little touch of bitchiness to him, and sometimes when he gets into that attitude, it makes the team, the players around him, the coaching staff, really not like interacting with him, and they've had to come up with ways that they can kind of right the ship with him, and they give him timeouts. So much like a kindergartner would. So luckily we don't do the show down in Kansas City because I don't think Larry would like it. Although Larry, if you watch us online, you can send us an email, testosteronesports.com. Complain to us about our complaints about you. But about Larry's value right now, would you say that his value is low or high? I mean, I've had a hard time determining that. Do you think people should go after him, I guess, is my question.
It depends what you have to give up for him. I mean, if you can get, you know, an even deal for him, I mean, don't pay too high for him because he's not going to be like Larry that he was last year, where he's going to get you monster points every week. So, but I do think he's going to be consistently good the rest of the year. I mean, now they've opened up their pass game a little bit that they didn't have right away at the beginning of the year. Horde's hitting, Gonzalez is having all these good games now, and then Dwayne Bowe, they finally got a guy that they can throw to downfield and somebody who's got a little bit of consistency.
You don't like Eddie Kennison?
Has he played? No, I don't.
Snoop Minnis? Come on, man.
Yes, no. No, so I think their offense has opened up a lot more than it did in the first 5-6 weeks. So I think Larry's going to be solid the rest of the year. So if you can get him at a reasonable deal, don't overpay for him. But
the owner who's got Larry might be fed up with him, and now it's his bye week, so that's one reason I bring it up. Not a bad week to go after him. You shouldn't have to give the premier value that you would have at the beginning of the season. He hasn't been producing as the number 3 overall pick, which is what he was averaging in his average draft position early. So he won't be producing for you at all this weekend. Several other teams on bye. We mentioned that before. So the guys who are going to be producing for you this weekend, one player who popped big before his bye, D'Angelo Williams. The Carolina Panthers host the Indianapolis Colts. Zach, why don't you tell me what you think about the running game for the Panthers here this week?
Well, the way the Colts have been playing against the run have actually been pretty solid as opposed to last year. Bob Sanders is just phenomenal. He gets up there and he plays the run better than any safety in the league right now. So they're not the team they were last year, giving up 180 yards a game rushing. So and not only that, they're splitting carries between D'Angelo and Deshaun Foster. Deshaun Foster started the season hot, and he was getting most of the majority of the carries, and he was gaining decent yards. But he's kind of slowed down the last couple of weeks, and D'Angelo's getting in there and he's making plays. So as long as he's making plays, I don't see how they can keep him out of the game. So I fully expect D'Angelo to be in there and get his fair share of carries and catches. And
D'Angelo makes a pretty nice bye week filler for you in this game. I believe Vinny Testaverde will play again. They trot that guy out there. I think he lives each week from Monday until Saturday in the body cast. They cut the body cast off Sunday night or Sunday morning, put his shoulder pads on him, send him out there, and then he throws the ball to Steve Smith. How do you like Steve Smith here this weekend?
He's one of those guys you can't sit regardless. So he's probably the only guy on that team that I would play.
Sure.
Maybe D'Angelo just because I think he's the better receiving running back. But Foster would be tough just because the way the Colts are playing against the run. So I'd go with D'Angelo and Steve Smith. Would be the only 2 guys that even bother playing off that team.
Right. Indianapolis has an interesting development in their running game on Monday night against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We saw them produce in a nice way on the ground. However, they split carries between Kenton Keith, Canada's finest, and Joseph Adai. And so I'm interested to see how this game's going to play out. Give me your take on the running back by committee potential from the Colts.
Too bad UC's not here. I've been trying to deal him Keith, but he doesn't want to. Now I'm not trading him. Yeah, it's been interesting to see that Keith is getting a lot of carries now, and even they got that goal line carry.
Yep.
Small back like him getting in there instead of Adai. I'm sure Adai's gonna get the majority of the carries. He'll get 18 to 20, and Keith will probably get his 5 to 10 carries a game. But even at that, he can put up some decent numbers in offense like that, even at the backup position. So. And he's a good receiver out of the backfield too.
Right.
So.
Yeah, he put up several good yards. Had several good seasons up in Canada before bringing his game to the Colts. If he were a horse, he'd be a mutter. He gets the tough yards. They seem to like to put him in on short yardage. Of course, the goal line backs. They really don't want to get Adai hurt again. They saw Adai when he came up lame against the Denver Broncos. They realize what they've got in Joseph Adai, a big play type of a running back, and so I think they want to keep him healthy. And if it takes a running back by committee approach to prolong Joseph Adai's career, I'm sure that the young running back would be okay with that. As far as the passing game from the Indianapolis Colts, I was impressed to see Marvin Harrison play. However, 31 yards only in the game. What do you think we can expect from the passing game here against Carolina, Zach?
It should be solid as always. And I think last week in Marvin, he was just kind of getting back into the game,
Little rust to shake off.
Oh, definitely. And Reggie Wayne was having a huge game anyway, so they didn't really need Marvin as bad as they might even this weekend. So I would expect the passing game to be solid. And Dallas Clark, another great play. He's been solid all year at tight end. So.
And you bring up Dallas Clark, which is another interesting point. It's obvious to me that Dallas Clark is the guy they go to when Marvin Harrison isn't in the game or isn't right. And Dallas Clark didn't see the passes that he was seeing when Harrison was out. So keep your eye on what's going on there. Don't expect as much from Dallas Clark when Marvin Harrison plays. However, Dallas Clark's still a nice play for you, especially during the bipocalypse. Moving right along, two teams we love to hate. The surprise Detroit Lions going to the Chicago Bears. Is John Kitna going to walk on water this weekend at Chicago, or are they going to get beat, Zach? What do you think?
He's frustrating. I got him in one of my leagues, and you don't know what to expect out of him. Either he's going to throw for 400 yards or he's going to throw for 150 yards. And last week they got Kevin Jones back, and they seemed to feed him the ball. And maybe they're going to start leaning more towards the run than they did with the beginning of the season. They were passing on every down. And Kevin Jones he looked great that first game back. So.
Yeah, Kevin Jones was surprising to me. It seems like he got that Liz Frank injury. He's the kind of guy who's got a lot of physical ability. He's got a nice size frame for muscle, and he looks a lot bigger. I know
a lot bigger, yes.
You were remarking about that while we were preparing for the show here. It seems like perhaps he got injured and looked at it like, hey, this is the NFL. I need to bulk up a little bit. And by doing that, he's given himself a leg up against the competition, and he's turning into the kind of guy who's a lock from 5 yards out, and with the skills that he's got, he can pop from anywhere on the field. So you like to see that out of a ball player. I never like to see a guy get injured. The Liz Frank is the kind of thing that will sap a guy's career if possible. Kevin Jones wasn't going to let that happen. Got into the weight room, did a nice job bringing himself back, and now he's back. So if you got him, you didn't pay much, and that's paying off for you now. Congratulations, he should be good in this game. The passing game, I was surprised to see Roy Williams, only 3 points, 31 yards, something like that, in their game.
But they didn't pass that much, so Kitna only threw for like 147 or 157 yards. So.
Yeah. So what you're telling me then is that Roy Williams is going to produce at a higher level here against the Bears than he did last week?
To tell you the truth, it's kind of up in the air. It depends what Mike Martz has for a game plan. So I don't think they're going to be throwing as much as they did, but Roy Williams is one of those guys you can't really sit because he could break out anytime. He's a solid play. He just had a kind of a down week.
Yeah.
So.
If you've got some bye week issues on the defensive side of the ball, I think that the Lions make a decent pickup. I can attest to you myself. I did that last week. I was in a bind with the Chargers defense, picked up the Lions defense, and they got me 13 fantasy points, propelling me on to victory against Frank Gomes. Ha ha ha, Commissioner, I took you down. So anyway, I got to give a little shout out to my guy. But on the other side of the ball, the Bears, give me your take on Cedric Benson in this game. How do you think he'll do?
So he's been struggling, and at the end of the last game, they actually had the other Adrian Peterson in the
Yes.
game, and he was running the ball at the end of the game. So I don't know. The way I see it, I think they're going to start getting Adrian Peterson in there and splitting carries until Cedric Benson can step up and start earning those tough yards. It just doesn't seem like he's running very hard, and he's like, what is he averaging? Just over 3.5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
That's just not going to cut in the NFL.
Yeah. No, you're right. If our Adrian Peterson is all day, then the Bears' Adrian Peterson is all gay, in my opinion. No, but what's funny is that Cedric Benson, he actually looked fairly good against us a couple of weeks ago. So to me, this is a very important divisional game. I think that they're going to really focus on getting the ball to Cedric Benson, getting him going early, and then I wouldn't be surprised to see them take shots deep to both Devin Hester and Bernard Berrien. Another guy that you could possibly pick up, especially in a redraft league. Greg Olsen at tight end makes a nice play here for you this weekend. This kid's developing nicely. He comes from the U down in Miami, and they know how to produce tight ends. So if you need a tight end for this weekend, Greg Olsen is a nice one. Another team with a great tight end we saw last weekend, the Pittsburgh Steelers going to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. Another big divisional matchup. Zach, this is a game for the ages. These two teams, they hate each other. The Cincinnati Bengals have gone the exact opposite direction than the Pittsburgh Steelers have. How do you think this game's going to go, in your opinion?
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I see a lot of passing in this game. The Bengals, that's what they do. They pass. And I expect Ben Roethlisberger to have a big game. He had a big game last week with his 4 touchdowns against Denver. I think he's going to continue. He's got Hines Ward back this week, who's healthy finally, and Santonio Holmes, and he's got a great tight end, Heath Miller. So not only that, they have a great running back, Willie Parker. So
yeah, right.
I think Santonio Holmes, Hines Ward, Ben Roethlisberger, Heath Miller, and Willie Parker all make great plays this week.
I would really like to see the Pittsburgh Steelers throw the ball to Willie Parker just a little bit more out of the backfield. Run the screenplay. This kid's got 4.3 speed, something like that. He really runs with heart. He's the kind of guy who everybody's always told him, you're not going to be anything, you're never going to be any good, and he's always taken that and let that fuel his fire. So start him with confidence against the Bengals. And as far as the Bengals go, I'm seeing a development here in their running game. In your opinion, Zach, is Kenny Watson the better running back between Rudy Johnson and himself?
Physically talented, probably, because he's got the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, something that Rudy has been working on, but he's not really proven that he can do it consistently. So I guess I'm not the coach, so I'm not sure what their plan is, what they're going to do. Yeah. I'm not seeing them at the practices. I can't tell you exactly who's a better running back.
Yeah, right.
But from
of course not.
The ability to catch and run, I definitely have to give it to Kenny Watson.
Yeah. See, now I've been watching this situation. I really like Kenny Watson a lot, and I think that in the AFC North, such a tough division to play in, the defenses are all really good. I think that the Bengals would be smart to use both those guys in a running back by committee approach. I know Yeasty hates to hear that because he's got both those guys. And Kenny Watson had a fantastic game last week, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns, and I had to face him in the toughest league around. And thanks to my Tom Brady, I was able to take down Yeasty. So that's a shout out for you, big dog. No, but I think Pittsburgh's going to win this game.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go with Pittsburgh. And they have the better defense. So in a game like that where you got 2 prolific offenses like that, you kind of side with the defense. And even though it's at Cincinnati, also goes
right. And after suffering a tough loss at Denver, you know they're going to want to get things right. And Mike Tomlin, excellent coach. He's a fiery personality. Not going to let his team come out and play their best game.
Should be coaching the Vikings right now.
I know. Wouldn't that be crazy?
Oh, my gosh.
So moving right along, the New York Giants go to Miami. The dismal Miami Dolphins winless. I think there's a chance, and you can tell me if you think I'm right or wrong, I think there's a chance that they do the exact opposite of what the 72 Dolphins did and not win a single game all year.
It seems like it's definitely possible. I mean, they've lost their best player, Ronnie Brown,
right,
and they're already 0-6 or 0-7.
But
they are going to London, so maybe something. Maybe it's the European deal. So
this game
maybe
being
they'll come out and win the game. I don't know.
It's being played at Wembley Stadium across the pond. That's going to be a fun time. The Giants' offense has been clicking on all cylinders. They've got the running game going. Plaxico Burress proves week in and week out that he's totally uncoverable. And I know you had a sleeper in last week's game. You called out Ike Hilliard, and he answered the bell.
He's playing for Tampa Bay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
we'll get to that one later.
So I just fumbled the ball.
In 1999.
So no, but yeah, that's what we love to do around here. About the Dolphins, Ronnie Brown injured, will be out for the rest of the season. As a great fantasy football mind, Zach, give me your instinct on Jesse Chapman. How do you like him?
Well, apparently the coaches love him. I mean, he played really well in preseason, so they feel like he can step right in. And I mean, he doesn't have the physical tools that Ronnie Brown did, but he can catch, and he's a solid running back. He's built, so he can get tough yards. So.
One thing I really like about Jesse Chapman is he started his career in San Diego, understudied with LT, and now he brings his game. They kind of gave him the shaft a little bit, and in fact, I think he spent half a year as a free agent.
Well, he got really big for a while. He said he was up to like 270, and he lost all that weight, and he came back, and the Dolphins signed him, and he's in great shape.
Went Buster Douglas on it.
Yeah,
ate a bunch of ho-hos down on the beach in Jamaica, but has come back, found a home in Miami, and now finds himself in a featured role. I like this kid. I think he could do well.
He could be a good fantasy play just because he's the only thing the Dolphins got going. They got rid of Chambers, so they have nobody really to throw to. So
they're obviously.
If there's one guy to play week in and week out, or even in bye-week fill-ins, or a guy that if you absolutely need somebody to play, Chapman could be your guy, and he might still be in your waiver wire if guys didn't pick him up.
All you Ronnie Brown owners, here's a big lesson for you. If you have a player, it's super important to get his handcuff, primarily at the running back position. There's been a couple of things that I've noticed in the preseason. Everybody's hot after the rookie running back backup. We saw Kenny Irons, Garrett Wolf from the Bears. We saw Michael Bush having a lot of value from the Raiders. Now those guys having a hard time getting going, and it's the guys who are vested veterans who've been in the league for a few years, who are able to step in, they understand the rigors of the game, who are showing value now. Jesse Chapman is definitely the free agent pickup of the week, and if any of you guys have Deuce McAllister, or, well, I guess not necessarily Deuce McAllister, but a Ronnie Brown type, a Lawrence Maroney type who has had Sammy Morris backing him up, keep an eye on what's going on, because you want the guy with experience to be your backup. Gone are the days of the rookie stepping in and really producing, unless he's an Adrian Peterson type. So we discussed last week on the show about our show consistently throughout its hour-long process, getting back to Adrian Peterson many times throughout the course of the show, and that's a trend that we're going to keep going. So Vikings, feed the beast all day. This is Testosterone Sports. We're going to jump to break, and we'll be right back to break down another quick segment of matchups.
Different words describe different people. But in the eyes of the law, there's one that fits us all. Human right number 7. We're all equal before the law. What are human rights? Find out at youthforhumanrights.org.